who knows where Matt Freese goes from here, but this is a wonderful boost to his confidence. And again, he stepped up in that moment, said, hey, great opportunity for me. He grabbed it with both hands. He's the star tonight. They go on, but don't break your arms. Patting yourselves on the back in terms of beating this Costa Rica team. Hello, Sunshine. Welcome to the State of the Union, presented by Yerba Madre. The boost you need when you want to win. Drink Yerba Madre. I'm Alexi Lalas, and this is where we look at the beautiful game on and off the field through the lens of red, white, and blue-colored glasses. This show is live, as it will be throughout the Gold Cup, following each day of action. This show, we're going to review day 12 and our last two quarterfinal matches, which include the United States and Canada, respectively. Then we look ahead to our semifinals, which are coming up on Wednesday. But first, joining me, as always, my friend, my colleague, my guiding light, David Mosse, a soccer savant and a Fox Soccer researcher and writer extraordinaire, and, a very, very special guest. Finally here during the Cup, my good friend Rob Stone. You know him, you love him.
Finally. You know what I do every time you guys do this,
Tell the
show?
Tell the people.
I'm sitting down in my dressing room, like doing notes and prep, waiting for you to come down so you and I can carpool home.
Exactly.
So somehow I was made available today to make the big show.
Can I address something right off the bat?
You're going to anyway, so just do it. Don't even ask permission anymore.
We taped a special show with Rob Stone commemorating us being 1 year out from the World Cup. And in that episode, which you should have listened to a couple of weeks back, in the opening, we did a lengthy What Are We Watching segment. So lengthy, in fact, that Sean Sullivan cut about half of it. And there was one part he cut out, which disappointed me because I had mentioned that I went to a theater in Santa Monica that shows old movies and that I went to see the movie Airplane. And you proceeded to deliver an incredible hot take, the fact that you are not a fan of the Airplane or Naked Gun movies.
No, I think they're dumb. I don't think that they're funny. And I can't understand why there is this phenomenon out there when it comes to them.
That whole era of comedy, Spaceballs, Hot Shots, Top Secret.
No. I mean, I saw all of them because it was kind of mandatory growing up in the United States. And I would be with people that, like yourselves, that would say, this is incredible. How can you not like this? And they couldn't understand how my mind worked. Yeah, I don't, it's not funny.
So what do I do now? Since that interaction, right? My feed is filled with Naked Gun and Airplane moments. And every time one comes up, no matter time of day, I'm like, beep, send it to these two guys over here. And I know I got somebody on my team, and his name is David Mosse.
It's true. All right. Well, are you watching anything? Or you wanted to mention? Or
I'm watching the Gold Cup, brother.
Exactly.
What else is there?
All right. Don't bore us. Get to the chorus. Should we like this thing, Mosse?
Let's do it.
All right. Where shall we start? As if there's any other place.
Oh, I got an idea. Can I take this show over? I got an idea how to start it.
Okay, sure.
My mom.
Your mom?
My mom has chimed in. Joy Stone in Lakewood Ranch, Florida. What a game. 2 exclamation points. We are fans of Matt Turner, but Freese did pretty good.
Oh, turning some heads, Matt Freese. Huh?
You were awesome as always. Heart emoji. Take care. Heart emoji. Blowing kiss emoji. Love, Dad.
That's fun.
Mom
I got a lot of texts from a lot of different people. This is a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening game on Big Fox. It's the United States, so there are a lot of people that aren't normally tuning in that were tuning in, and a lot of people kind of jumped into the soccer world here and were treated to a pretty special moment.
What your family members are alluding to, we had 2 Gold Cup quarterfinals today from Minneapolis. We're going to take them in reverse order. In the nightcap, the U.S. faced Costa Rica. Early in the first half, Max Arfsten took down Kenneth Vargas in the box. Calvo converts, 1-0 Ticos. Later in the first half, Malik Tillman taken down in the box, but he missed his penalty, smacking the post. The U.S. did get an equalizer before halftime. Diego Luna with a deflected shot. Then early in the second half, Arfsten 2-1. The U.S. looked to be in good shape, but lo and behold, Alonso Martinez tied it 2-2 and then almost won it late, smacking a shot off the post. We go to penalties. In the shootout, Matt Freese comes up huge with 3 saves. He denied Juan Pablo Vargas, Calvo and Rojas. The U.S. did miss twice, Berhalter and Tolkien, but Damian Downs converted the winner. The U.S. off to their 13th straight Gold Cup semifinals.
All right, so we're going to get to Matt Freese in a second and give him his due.
By the way, David did all of that off the top of his head.
This
and
is not,
he's like
I know,
30 seconds ahead of the highlights.
Don't even try to understand it.
I have a cheat sheet in front of me, and I'm following it. I'm like, that is correct.
Yeah, don't even try to
That's right.
understand
It was Vargas,
the
Calvo,
workings.
Rojas, who missed. Yep, that's David Mosse.
He's
You
incredible.
have quite a lot of notes.
I have. Today was a notey day because they all went to penalty kicks. There's a lot to track.
All right, so let's start off with the lineup. Not any crazy surprises. We have seen all of these players throughout the group stage, and some of them returned. It was a question that we were asking ourselves before the ball actually kicked as to where Sebastian Berhalter was going to show up in this. They were kind of all over the place, but again, somebody could have picked this lineup given what they saw in the group stage, and you would have said, "Yeah, that's it." So again, nothing crazy when it came to the lineup. Then Max Arfsten, I didn't think the team had a good first half in general. Right? I was disappointed in the first half. I didn't think that either outside backs had a good game, and certainly not a good half. And I'm not taking away from scoring a goal. It's really important. I thought that there was a response after halftime. So whatever Pochettino said, because he didn't change anybody, but whatever he said, they came out with a little bit more urgency. I think that was a word that was used a lot on set today. But this was a feel-good moment ultimately for this team today. And, we just got off air, and sports is not a place for perspective. You have to, lose yourself in sports. And in this moment, I think it's completely fair and right for us, given all of the craziness that we've seen with this team, both on and off the field, to kind of have this moment, celebrate this moment. It wasn't pretty at times, and it's certainly not the best that this team can play, but they did what they needed. And like I said, we'll get to Matt Freese in a second. So those are the general reaction to the thoughts. So sing while you're winning, but don't break your arm patting yourself on the back for beating this average Costa Rica team in the fashion that they did and going to yet another semifinal, which has been done time and time again by the United States.
On the starting lineup, I was surprised. We talked about this leading up to the game. We all thought that front four of McGlynn, Tillman, Luna, and Ajiman had developed a pretty good understanding. He wouldn't want to break that up. And instead, McGlynn was the odd man out. He pushed Berhalter further up the field and started Adams and De La Torre sitting. I felt like it was an overly conservative lineup against a Tico's team that we all knew was going to bunker down. And Pochettino took a long time to make subs in the second half, even when the U.S. looked tired and the momentum had shifted Costa Rica's favor. So he gets away with it today, but I thought he made some questionable decisions.
It looked like they were losing their legs. It looked like they were losing that momentum. After that Alonso Martinez goal in the 71st minute, and then Martinez in the 85th minute hitting the post. I mean, not just hitting the post, but Matt Freese just kind of watching it whistle by him and like, boy, I hope that doesn't find net. They were in trouble. Remember though, Tillman had some opportunities as well, had a screamer in the 76. So super entertaining, fantastic. In the end, I'm with you, Lex. Like, it's going to mask some of the issues. But again, this program, and when I say this program, that's the fan base. That's the TV network. That's the management. That's the players. They needed a moment like this, right? There were moments against Trinidad, Tobago, and Saudi Arabia and Haiti, but they needed something like this on a big stage where their backs were against the wall and they had to come from behind for the first time. And then we get in a pressure situation like penalty kicks. And oh, by the way, they had seen two favorites crash out already via penalty kicks, and the U.S. able to survive, advance, and move on. I think this was one of those wins that can really help them going forward as a unifying force. Okay. For everybody. Like, I even felt like the fan base was back into it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that was, God, we needed that.
We talked about this reclamation project that is the U.S. men's national team and the start of it here at the Gold Cup. And it was on the precipice there of going a different way. But people tuned in. I think the numbers are going to be very big in terms, like I said, of the number of people that were just on a Sunday afternoon. And especially when it goes to penalties, people hear that and they come running. So they were able to see that. Before we get the penalties, I thought that Patrick Ajiman up top, actually, I thought that was his best game from a Gold Cup perspective. I know he didn't score, but he did a lot of work up there. He was a nuisance in the best positive way. I thought he really kind of more so in this game than any other, played that traditional striker, feed the big guy, held the ball really well, and was the fulcrum for a lot of these combination plays that went in and out. I don't know if Malik Tillman had a good game. I really don't. I don't. I
100% think he did.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't. And maybe that's just my perception of it.
I'm
in that
surprised
moment.
you say that.
Yeah.
I'm caught off guard by that.
Yeah.
If he had made the penalty kick in regulation, would that have changed things?
No, I didn't even think about the penalty kick. I just think it was, for me, at least watching it. And again, if I go back and watch it, maybe I'll have a completely different direction. But right coming off it, fresh off it. Look, don't get me wrong. I think he has used this Gold Cup better than anybody to place himself in the position to potentially start. But I don't know. After that game, I just couldn't come to a clear-cut decision. You might be saying, well, you're crazy. He was awesome there. I just didn't think so. I thought that, let's see, Diego Luna, I actually thought this was a really good game from him, and the individual stuff that he did, there's nobody else that can do that. That's what makes him special and unique out there. Again, Chris Richards and Tim Ream were wonderful. I did not like the outside backs. Tyler Adams had a kind of quiet game. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Had a good penalty kick.
Yeah, good penalty kick. But he had a kind of a quiet game for someone that has kind of commanded games in the midfield.
You mentioned the subs. It was Downs for De La Torre, and then he made a double sub, McGlynn and Tolkien for Arfsten and Luna. And Luna was not happy about coming off. And I agree with him. I don't think he should have been subbed out in that situation.
It's very. You could hear him. Or you could see him kind of swearing under his breath as he made his way to the side. And it's okay. I don't think Pochettino cares.
By the way, Pochettino probably loved that.
He doesn't,
right? Because this is a warrior that wants to be on the field all the time. Dude was running nonstop. Like every time you looked on the field, he was there. He was at the corner flag. He's up. I think at that point, he's just like, hey man, I don't know your legs that well. I think they need a breather, and let's just get something fresh in. I agree. Luna's a big winner here, and the Vamos goal celebration. It's
going to be a meme, and it should be, and just a wonderful moment. Turning to the camera and just great. So.
It was disappointing when they took the 2-1 lead. They dominated the early part of the second half. It looked like they were going to tack on another. Navas made a great save on Chris Richards. And then to allow a very limited Costa Rica team back into the game the way they did. But to your point about why I think most people are prone to take a glass half full view of this is a likable team.
Yes.
Tyler Adams aside, it's a bunch of unheralded, scrappy guys that are just fighting to be on the roster in 26, and you can sense that. So I think people are more likely to view the positives here instead of harping on the negatives.
Well, there is no one that is probably more likable tonight than the goalkeeper they had. So that does mean that it's time now for our boost of the game presented by Yerba Madre. Yerba Madre, the boost you need when you want to win. Drink Yerba Madre and come to life. All right, none other than Matt Freese. He had a very good game. I don't.
Did he?
Okay. All right. So here we go.
Did he have a good game? I don't know. He kind of spilled that one save that led to
the second goal.
The second goal.
Yes.
Right. So that one he could have corralled. That one, his play with his feet. Obviously, everybody's on pins and needles now when the ball comes to his feet.
Now he just kicks it as
far
as...
Now he just blasts it.
Which is fine. I mean, he learned his lesson there.
So, when in doubt, send it out. So,
exactly, yeah. So he could have maybe done better with the shot because, he spilled that rebound. Maybe he uses his feet and goes on. But as he said in the interview after the game, penalties, they're kind of my thing. Which is a wonderful quote. I think it bears repeating, and when it comes to the way that I look at penalties, and I think the way that penalties should be looked at, they are not a crapshoot. It's not about luck. It's not a flip of a coin. They are practiced. They are a skill. I would think that Mauricio Pochettino would have practiced this week, having a week of training too, to get ready. And certainly when it comes to your goalkeeper, conventional, theory, wisdom is that you save one, and that's a good job. Nobody ever thinks about a goalkeeper saving 3. But Matt Freese, to his point, man, oh man, even the ones he didn't save, he guessed. So he was in the head. He understood. He felt the vibe. He smelled whatever he needed to smell in that moment. And yeah, it is his kind of thing.
It was Emi Martinez-like, his performance today. And, hearing you do that spiel, boy, Landon really did a great job imitating it the other night.
Exactly. Landon can do it verbatim because he's heard me do it so many times. But, it's because a lot of people do say, oh, well, it's just a crapshoot and I can't believe they lost in it. No, you practice it, you train on it, you put your best players out there to give you the best chance. And when you have a goalkeeper like this, I don't know if Pochettino knew he had a goalkeeper like this, but it's great. And for Matt Freese, the redemption of the mistake he made earlier in the tournament, because he hasn't really been tested, is important. When it comes to the competition, this also bears repeating. This is not a situation where Mauricio Pochettino, from a goalkeeping perspective, went to Matt Turner, the incumbent, and said, hey, you're my number one, but in this Gold Cup, I know exactly who you are, but in this Gold Cup, I need to give some other players some time, all right? And then when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, either in the tournament or when we get to the World Cup next summer, you're my number one. No, that's not the case, because there is a competition. Yes, I guess he knows what Matt Turner is, but he knows what Matt Turner is in this moment, is a Matt Turner who's not playing and therefore could be problematic going forward. So Matt Freese, I don't even think was his first choice to give this opportunity to. Zach Steffen probably was, and maybe others. But, things change. And Matt Freese has grabbed it with both hands, and certainly this is a wonderful moment for him to celebrate, to him to feel kind of validated and vindicated to a certain extent. And he was wonderful today. And as Landon Donovan said, a star is born. We'll see how long this star lasts. Maybe it lasts to next summer, but it's fun to see these guys taking advantage of the opportunity and planting those seeds that we talk about in Pochettino's head.
And this would be the Harvard-educated Matt Freese, right?
No, I love that.
I'm already throwing it in the script because I know you're going to add it if it's not there.
That.
So.
I think that's a great hook to the casual American fan. Like, wait a second, this dude went to Harvard, and he's playing for the U.S. men's national team. You know me, I'm a sucker for those college hooks.
I mean, to be fair, Harvard could use some positive news out there. So well done, Matt Freese. All right. So when it comes to this result, yes, you celebrate it, Rob Stone. Are you someone who is going to look at it and be practical and realistic about how much it means? Because this is not a good Costa Rica team, and this is something that's been done before. Or do you think it's worthy of praise, worthy of celebration, or you just think it's a cathartic release for whether it's the players or the fans saying,
it's
"Hey,
needed.
let's just have a party." It doesn't matter how it came.
Can we just enjoy things as an American soccer fan right now? Right? Like, why do I have to put parameters and rules around it? Right? It has been so long since so many people have been this invested about the U.S. men's national team. And again, here we are sitting, what are we, Mosse? 347 days out from the World Cup. We should be, like, we should know every player on the team. We should be embracing them. We should be talking about, are we round of 16? Are we Elite 8? How far can we really go? Instead, it's this, hi, how are you? It's like we should have name tags, right? Like, I'm Matt Freese. Nice to meet you. Well, guess what? Now I care about Matt Freese. I'm a little bit more, my mom is invested. Yep. I think my mom just ordered a Matt Freese goalkeeper jersey right now in the neon green. By the way, Joy Stone would look great in a Matt Freese goalkeeper jersey. But I think more it's, everybody needed a moment like this. And I know the staff and the players behind the scenes, once they come down from this high, are going to be like, okay, guys, a lot of work still to be done. It was a Costa Rica team that was missing some of its star players. Guess what? We're missing some of our star players. The job is still out there to handle. Go to St. Louis, a great American soccer city, Wednesday. Get yourself to the final next Sunday in Houston. Then we can really talk about where we are right now. But I just think this was something that the American soccer world needed and should rightfully celebrate it tonight with a yerba madre or something a little more harder.
Teams that win tournaments often have one game when they weren't at their best and they have to grind it out. So we'll see what they do the rest of the way. If they play well the next two games and win this Gold Cup, then nobody's going to harp on the fact that they weren't at their best against Costa Rica. But if they play poorly and lose to Guatemala, then the narrative becomes, well, that's two bad performances in a row, and it got caught up with them the second time around. So shall we spin it forward to who they'll be facing in the semifinals?
Sure.
Because we had another quarterfinal match in Minneapolis today. Canada faced Guatemala. Canada earns a disputed penalty in the first half. Jonathan David converts 1-0. But then this game changed late in the half. Jacob Schaffelberg picks up 2 yellow cards in quick succession, sent off. So Canada had to play the whole second half down a man. And Oregon native Rubio Rubin with the equalizer, 1-1 after 90. We go to penalties. And in the 7th round, Di Fugero smacks the crossbar. And then Jose Morales converts. So Guatemala off to the semis. Canada crash out.
I know. He's doing it with no notes, by the way.
I'm shuffling my papers. It's like, hold on. No, he's right. It was Morales who had it. Yeah.
All right. So not something that people predicted. By the way, relative to this result, if you had told Mauricio Pochettino and this U.S. team that in the quarterfinals you would face a depleted Costa Rica, and then the semifinals, you would have to face to Guatemala. You would say, I will sign up for that right now.
Same for Mexico. You're going to take
Same for
Saudi
Mexico.
Arabia and then a Honduras side. Sure.
Exactly. But this, yes, kudos go to Guatemala for finding a way through. But this is all about the failure of Jesse Marsch and company to live up to all the talk. And we talked a lot, and Jesse has given us plenty of content. And I want him to keep giving us.
You've been waiting all day for this.
Listen, I want people to understand. I love the fact that Jesse talks.
I do too.
And I love the fact that he creates content. But part of that content is then our reaction to it. And so when I talk about, the Bull Durham shower shoes and that kind of stuff, yeah, it's all fine and well until you drop something like this and don't live up to the hype, a lot of the hype that you are creating yourself. And when you do that, you create as many people that watch to see you potentially fail as watch to see you succeed. And, the hate watching that goes on, all of that. I'm not saying people hate Jesse Marsch, but the personality and the character that he has created here in this tournament, and something that we have certainly played up, that lends itself to people coming in and saying, all right, let's see what you got. And then when you fail, if you're Jesse Marsch or anybody else, don't be surprised when people say, nah, which is what a lot of people are saying right now.
Now, before the tournament, he was puffing his chest out over the fact that no Canadian players asked out of this tournament, which was clearly a veiled shot at the U.S. And then after today's elimination, he said we were missing half our squad. Now, both things can be true, because the reason they were missing players was injuries, Club World Cup, obviously Alfonso Davies, Bombito, Steven Eustachio, who they thought they were going to get, but then Porto blocked him from joining up with the Canada squad, which is interesting because they had already gotten knocked out of the Club World Cup, so I'm not sure what the issue was. Nevertheless, do you have an issue with him now that they've gotten knocked out, bringing up the players they were missing when he didn't seem too bothered going into the tournament?
Do I have an issue? No, I would expect nothing less from Jesse Marsch. That's exactly what he is going to do. And I guess the perceived hypocrisy of it should be no surprise to anyone. But this is undoubtedly a failure. This is not good for Jesse Marsch. I would wonder what would have happened if they still had to qualify for the World Cup, and not like the United States and Mexico are have an automatic qualification because we're hosting. If they had seen what happened here and this abject failure of Canada with qualifying on the horizon, would they, and I'm talking about the Canadian Soccer Federation, would they say, hey, this is not going in the right direction, and we need to do everything we possibly can to make sure that we qualify? Now, they don't have to do that because they're already qualified. I don't think that they are going to change, but this is not what anybody had predicted, and this is not what Jesse Marsch envisioned for this particular Canadian team. And yes, they're missing some players, but other teams are missing some players. And you can't tell me, Jesse Marsch and Canada, that even with your missing players, that you couldn't find a way past Guatemala.
Rob, thoughts on the Princeton-educated Jesse Marsch?
Good man. Good man. You know who I think about a lot in relation to Jesse Marsch this summer? His former head coach, former Princeton guy, Bob Bradley.
Mentor, kind of.
Yeah, and I do love... I do like Jesse. I like him as a human being. I respect the hell out of everything he's done as a player and a coach. And I do like the fact that he's become this content creator, particularly for us. He's given us a lot to talk about. I enjoy it. I enjoy it when people talk about soccer, no matter what it is, on or off the field. But I do think that those who care about Jesse might pull him aside, and maybe they have already, and said, maybe you need to tone down the rhetoric a little bit. He seems softly unhinged this summer. You guys saw it live in March when he earned that that red card, and then the following suspension for berating an official and walking into the U.S. Coaching technical area. And I would be stunned if Bob Bradley hadn't reached out and been like, hey, what are we doing? Is everything all right? Calm down. Again, that's not Bob's style. Bob wouldn't do that. And I think he'd be respectful of, hey, you're your own man, Jesse. You got to be true to who you are. And Bob was always that guy who found us against the world. He was so good at that, whether it was with the Fire or with the U.S. men's national team. But I always look at Jesse through the lens of Bob Bradley. What would Bob be saying to him right now? And I think it would be, hey, just take it down a couple. Like, turn down the volume, turn down the heat on the stove a little bit. You're in a great position. You're in an amazingly envious position being a host country for World Cup. Your nation is as good as maybe it's ever been in the history of Canadian soccer. Just accept it, embrace it, be a little warmer, tone things down, and maybe don't give us so much to talk about. As much as that hurts my heart.
Really? You think
as much as that hurts my heart, I think that is what would be best for Jesse Marsch and Canada.
Yeah, I don't think that is what Jesse Marsch needs, and I don't think that's what. Well, I certainly don't think that's what Bob Bradley would do, despite the fact that
You don't think Bob has reached out to him through the course of this tournament and the yelling and the quotes and things?
I think because
I only say that because it's so non-Bob.
Yeah, maybe, but I think Bob actually has a respect for Jesse that, you know what, this is a grown man.
Yes.
He may be doing things differently and
Yes.
differently that I would do, but there's a method to the madness because Jesse Marsch is a smart guy.
For sure. Princeton educated.
Smart guys do, hey, listen, smart guys do smart things sometimes and do dumb things sometimes. So I'm not saying that Jesse Marsch shouldn't say, I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I had done that differently. But I just don't see that Bob Bradley benefits from that. It's one thing to.
I don't think Bob's trying to benefit. I think he's just trying to take care of one of his guys, somebody he looks out for.
Why?
I don't know if
what's wrong with what Jesse is doing. What I like what Jesse is doing.
I know you do. I know you like what he's doing. I understand.
Unless you believe that that's not who Jesse Marsch is.
No. I think he's turning it up a little bit. I think he's spinal tapping it. Like, yeah, but ours go to 11.
Yep.
I think he's finding a way to make it a little bit louder than would be normal for him. And I don't know why. Then there's all this anti-U.S. soccer quotes that came out before the tournament. You're like, I don't know if that's necessary. Is that doing you any good? I would say no.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem is that Jesse Marsch is trying to make Canada into America. And they are very, very different countries and cultures and histories. And the way that they have gone about, I think it's very different for what Jesse Marsch wants for this team. And it's almost trying to make them something that they have never been.
Trying to make them American. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But in the same way, if you try to make America Canada, it wouldn't work.
Well, I love Tim Hortons. I'd spend some time down there. But no, I agree. It's two different personalities for sure.
And Canada had been on a heater sports-wise. How about that video we showed today of the MVPs, Freddie Freeman, Gilgeous Alexander? It all came crashing down today for the Canucks, unfortunately. I want to hop back to the U.S. for 1 second. You mentioned Bob Bradley. Another former U.S. coach was in the house today. What do you make of this Berhalter-Pochettino dynamic? You have his son on the team, seems to get along with Pochettino well. You have Gregg Berhalter supporting the team today. It seems like it's being handled very maturely by all involved.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
you're caught off guard by this, aren't you, David?
I think you can handle it maturely. And because when they kept going to Gregg Berhalter and family in the stands, and they even went during the penalty when Sebastian Berhalter missed. And I mean, it was poignant, but it was kind of, almost like overly sensitive and personal in that moment. But that's kind of what you want to see when you are watching it with the connection. We had already built up those stories, but in that moment, whether it was Gregg Berhalter or any of the Berhalters there, they were there as family, and you could see that this wasn't a coach. This was a dad watching his son represent the country in a really, really important moment. And in that moment, seeing it just missing a penalty, that's got to crush you as a dad to see that. And you feel and you want to take away that pain. And so then at the end of the day, the team winning. So yeah, I mean, all of that is to say, I think that there is a positive and healthy, mature relationship that they have. And the fact is that Sebastian Berhalter has worked his way into this team. And so he's not going anywhere. And just because his dad was the former coach doesn't mean that whatever sins there are from the father have to be visited upon this son.
What that family has been through the last couple of years, and I think to a level unfairly, what they've been run through, it makes me extra happy for what Sebastian has been able to do for himself, for his mom.
And he's handled it incredibly, Sebastian.
It's almost to the point like you forget. You almost have to remind yourself and other people like, oh, wait a second. His dad was the last coach of the U.S. men's national team. And then you also have to remind people how that whole situation flamed out. And I'm happy for him. He's one of the real big winners for the U.S. men's national team. I don't think he had his best game today. Obviously, the penalty kick miss will be something we'll talk about. But his services just weren't
he's got something going. I mean, they're not all perfect.
Correct.
But a lot of them are. And he's got a tracking device basically to the top of Richard's head.
Yeah.
They're better than Christian Pulisic.
Yes,
set
they
piece
are.
Remember
Yes.
Christian Pulisic?
I've heard of him.
You think he was watching the
Yes.
game today?
He possibly could get a call in later on.
So Wednesday, semifinal doubleheader on FS1, U.S. Guatemala in St. Louis, Mexico Honduras in Santa Clara. Nothing would surprise me in this competition anymore, but we could be headed for our 8th U.S. Mexico Gold Cup final.
You think that's where we're going? I think the money, the smart money is on that, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
and then that would be in Houston a week from today on Fox.
Yeah. Even with what we've seen, these have been anomalies. These are, been things that people did not predict. But your smart money and all money, I think, is going to be on the U.S. beating Guatemala. Again, what was anticipated was U.S.-Canada, and that would have been really, really interesting. From a pure competitive standpoint, in terms of getting the most reps against quality opponents, you would rather Canada. I think Canada would have given us a better game, even in this tournament where we're seeing different things. But if the U.S. beats Guatemala to go to yet another final, what are we going to say? Oh my goodness, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread? No, I'm not poo-pooing on it. It's just the reality of the situation.
I think Costa Rica is a tougher test than Guatemala.
They've come through a tougher test than I think what they're going to face against Guatemala. They will have learned from what just happened. And again, they weren't perfect. And so Pochettino has a couple of days to clean up what wasn't perfect, especially the way that they came out in that first half. And then maybe they just underestimated who Costa Rica was, or this version of Costa Rica. But this is all lining up for yet another U.S.-Mexico final, unless something crazy happens and the soccer gods say, not so fast.
We've seen a lot of crazy in the last
Yes.
24 plus hours.
Exactly.
That's what CONCACAF does.
Exactly.
They major in crazy.
Wednesday is a jam-packed soccer day on Fox Sports. On top of the 2 Gold Cup semis on FS1, we have a Women's Euros doubleheader on Fox. That tournament kicking off, Iceland, Finland, and the host Switzerland against Norway. So that should be fun. On the topic of women's soccer, the U.S. women played a pair of friendlies the last few days against the Republic of Ireland. 4-0 wins in both games. Thursday in Colorado, today in Cincinnati. Alyssa Thompson scored in both. We've talked about this. The U.S. women, it's so far out from the next World Cup, but still, they continue churning out results.
Yeah. They're the women's, national team, like the men's national team. There's moments where it's much more focused on, and we are at one of those down type of moments right there. Except that Emma is doing her thing, and they continue to roll on, and we have to be careful not to just completely believe that every single time they step on the field they are going to win. But they have come out of a downward type of moment. And they're certainly heading in the right direction. But ultimately, Emma and this team is going to be judged by what happens in the World Cup. But this is all preparation for the World Cup. But there's a lot of soccer going on right now, and people have only so much bandwidth.
I don't love the fact that they play the same team over the course of a few short days, right? I like to mix up the flavors, right? I don't always want Italian, right? I honestly, and we all know, I don't want Sicilian pizza shoved down my throat day after day. Inside joke right there. I would have liked to seen a little variety for the U.S. women, but at least they're getting some competition and they're getting the results, they're getting the shutouts, and they're getting the goals.
You mentioned there's a lot of soccer going on right now. Another day of round of 16 action at the Club World Cup, and MLS's involvement in the tournament came to an end because PSG hammered Inter Miami 4-0. All 4 goals in the first half. João Neves got 2. Hakimi got 1. There was an own goal as well, and then PSG very generously took the foot off the gas in the second half. Otherwise, this could have gotten really ugly. We were looking up early in the day Messi's worst defeats in his career. Remember, there was an 8-2 Barcelona against Bayern in the Champions League. This was headed that way, but Luis Enrique had the class to not go there. But so a humiliating defeat like this, it's leading to a lot of hand-wringing on social media and people talking about, again, loosening spending restrictions, how if MLS wants to go to that proverbial next level, they got to let their teams compete against the best in the world.
Yeah, I don't think this changed the perception of Major League Soccer either internally or externally. And I don't think you needed this to illustrate that there is a massive disparity when it comes to what people spend, and therefore the quality on the field, real and perceived, when it comes to the quality of the teams. But this was a mismatch from the start. I mean, they didn't lose 5-0 like Inter, but that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, I still think it was a positive experience for MLS. But I think a lot of people are left once again saying, you had one foot behind your back. by design. And if and when you do take those restrictions off, then we can really judge. Then we can really see what this league can be going forward. And I know, Rob, you've been there since the beginning, so you've seen the evolution. And I also think that you're realistic. And we talk about spending other people's money and telling people how to spend their money.
We're really good at that.
We're very, very good at that.
My
but
kids are too.
it's the reality of the situation right now. And that's what's enabled this league to last 30 years and to grow so much.
Some folks, I think, would say, how about you start winning the CONCACAF Champions League on a more regular basis? But how much is that really going to push the needle, right? I think to the soccer nerds like us, here we go. All right, we're on par or we're better than Mexico's best. That's a great stepping stone. But if you're looking at all the fans that are showing up at the FIFA Club World Cup games here in the United States, they don't know what CONCACAF Champions League is, a majority of them. They want to see, can an MLS team really go toe-to-toe with the Real Madrids and with the Bayern Munichs and the PSGs of the world? It's a ways away. Gianni Infantino, what does he say? And how many years away is soccer from becoming the number one sport in the United States?
He said it's going to happen next year.
Yeah, whatever the number is, Gianni, like slow your roll. Like next summer is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to be sellout after sellout. It's going to be game after game. It's going to be a wonderful experience. We are just going to be bathing in top-tier soccer here in the United States. But on the club level, it's a long ways to go. And we've come a long way, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have come a long, long way that we even have. We got a guy like Messi on our field, right? I mean, I know you can say back in the day, Pele, a similar comparison, playing with the Cosmos and spending all that money and what he made that team kind of a super team, and they would travel around the globe. The Galaxy did that with David Beckham. Everybody's trying to capitalize on Messi, but it does come to this point of, if you really want to play with the big boys, that you're going to have to pay like the big boys. And I don't think everybody in MLS wants that, at least the ownership. I think there's definitely a pack, and we've talked about it, that are willing to do it and willing to pony up and say, I want to be the biggest and the best. But until it goes across the board and until the commissioner signs off on it and says, hey guys, all right, we've got a quorum, let's talk about it. We have enough in favor. We need to do this. And if you can't carry your load, let's find somebody who can come in and buy you out and do it. And that might be the next difficult step for MLS.
Also today, Bayern Munich beat Flamengo 4-2. Harry Kane with 2 goals. So 2 quarterfinal matchups are set. Bayern will face PSG, and Chelsea will face Palmeiras of Brazil.
Wow. Notwithstanding the incredible money that these teams are earning, and now as we get into the later stages of the tournament, I think the seriousness in which they are taking it ratchets up a whole nother notch. And I think the jury will be out relative to the Club World Cup. I think that it's been successful, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination on or off the field, but this expanded Club World Cup with all of these games, and obviously a year before the World Cup next summer. I think it was
that's the thing, because this is a trial balloon, if you will, right? This is clearly being utilized with, all right, what lessons can we learn from this summer to use next summer? And I don't know what those lessons are, because one of the big concerns right now is weather.
Right?
Well,
it's not changing.
unless you can sign Mother Nature up, to a 1-year deal and have her accommodate us throughout the summer. This is what you're going to get.
Are you in favor of dome stadiums?
Why are you doing this? Yes, the future of sports is roofed, my friend. Absolutely. And FIFA had the opportunity, if they wanted, to have all indoor venues. That would have been really interesting and unique. Obviously, as it stands, we have 4 indoor venues, 5 if you count SoFi. But yeah, there's a lot of complaining right now about the heat, about the
fields.
Look, in the summer in the Midwest, you're going to get tornadoes, okay? And I'm sorry, you just see the Chelsea coach screaming and yelling about
Enzo Maresca.
Yeah, screaming and yelling about. I'm sorry that we actually care about the safety of people that are attending a game. It's the summer. There are thunderstorms. With thunderstorms comes lightning, and when there's lightning in a stadium doesn't have a roof or anything, you're going to have to move people.
He wants to keep playing, and if a player gets struck by lightning, just sub him out.
Just play on, right?
You get an extra sub if your player gets struck.
I mean, it's not going to change, but the final next summer is in New York. When I say New York, I mean New Jersey. There's no roof there, so you wanted to play in New York for the final? Fine. You could have played in Dallas. Could have played in Atlanta. You could have played in other places. And again, these climate-controlled venues are going to have an advantage. My friend, anything before we go? Well, hold on.
I have one random digression.
Oh,
Speaking
God,
of
here we
New
go.
Jersey, did you see this Tracks 2 that Bruce Springsteen put out?
Yes.
Now, a lot of musicians have plenty of outtakes
Sure.
and unreleased songs that they've accumulated over their course of their careers, but this is a box set of 7 unreleased albums that he recorded at different points of his career and for whatever reason didn't put out. This guy has 7 full albums that were sitting on the shelf, and now he has finally put them all out.
Yeah, he'll make some money, and I think he just wants them to be out there in the world. But there's a reason why they weren't put out because at
I
the
guess
time,
a couple were like soundtracks for films that ended up not coming out. Others were he just didn't think it was the right timing to put him out. But that's a lot
Are you a Bruce guy?
I am, yes.
You are a Bruce guy. You?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I think we've talked about this.
I mean, I appreciate he's
Oh,
one of the,
for sure.
one of the great
Great
artists
talent,
in history.
but it's not my
And
jam.
like great artists, oftentimes they are prolific. I mean, you look at Prince's vault and those types of things. So it's not a surprise that he has a lot of stuff hanging out, that he wants it out there. Maybe he's just like, hey, I've done everything, and I'm just going to put it all out there. And if it hits, great. If it doesn't, who knows? But I'm not going to have it collecting dust in my warehouse.
Your favorite Prince song?
Oh, jeez. I Would Die For You is wonderful. Why? Is there a different one?
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
We brought it up. These are our drives.
Yeah.
Our drives in and out of work, the musical deep dives, and also the Bezos wedding. We did a deep dive on the Bezos wedding
In Venice,
the other
right?
day in Venice.
Paisley Park, the actual song, not the
Yeah.
album, but the Paisley Park song. I really like that.
Purple Rain.
I mean, yeah,
Rain.
those are classic. Yeah.
My first makeout session with my now wife. Purple Rain.
Oh,
somewhere in the P2 nightclub in Albany,
Wow.
Georgia, I think where workers were standing by it.
Oh, there's so much information going out right now. I can't wait to see.
So many stories.
I can't wait to see Lynn.
Purple Rain.
Before we go, because we do have you here, Rob, and we love when you come here. I always tell people that as great as this man is at doing his job in hosting, and not just hosting soccer, but anything that he does, one of my joys in life is when we get to talk and I get to hear his opinion. As he mentioned, we carpool a lot, and so I get to hear his opinion in private a whole lot. But if and when you get the guy behind a microphone, and he's not just, refereeing and steering as he does when we're on set, where we're, spouting off our opinion. There's incredible insight, like I said, in a bunch of different sports here. So before we go, just in terms of big picture, soccer, we sit, like we said, 347, what did we say?
347.
347 days away from the World Cup next summer. A moment that I think is going to be special, that's going to be remembered, but it also represents incredible opportunity. And let's be honest, we can't afford to screw this up. When you look at American soccer, and you have incredible perspective because of the things that you've seen and all of the years that you've been involved, where are we? And did you think in the summer of 2025, this is where we would be relative to the summer of 2026?
Yeah, as nervous as I was tonight when that penalty shootout was going on is my level of nervousness prior to this Gold Cup about how this U.S. team is going to fare and how this country is going to embrace this team. I'm not worried about World Cup overall. It's going to be a smashing success. There will be no bigger sporting event on this planet in our lifetime. Right? It's going to break all kinds of records. Everybody's going to be talking about it. It's going to take over this country. It's going to take over the world. But as an American, I mean, you and I, we're all decked out in this red, white, and blue today. We have some pride. We want us to do well. We saw 94. And I'll even go back to 90 because I know you were a fan of 90. You went to games. I watched those games. I think they were on Turner, whatever Turner was back then. I don't know if that was WTBS or whatever, and not knowing what was happening, but watching those games. And I want our team to do well. I really do. And I was in a dark place, as was this program, as was this fan base coming into this Gold Cup. And I'm really happy because it's easy to kind of make light of the Gold Cup, right? It's not the Euros, it's not Copa America. It's these guys from Central America and the Caribbean and North America. And I think a lot of outsiders can have fun with it. But internally, it means something. And particularly this summer, it meant an opportunity to win back, as you love to say, the hearts and minds, right? But the hearts and minds of so many out there, whether that's advertisers, whether that's our TV execs, whether that is fans who are debating, should I be spending my money on Gold Cup or Club World Cup or the U.S. Women's National Team, or should I be saving my money for next summer for the World Cup? So I know job is not done yet, and I really do feel like we need to get to Houston and really have a big, big moment. But what happened tonight was a feel-good moment that we needed, and everybody needs a feel-good moment. And, you got it from the text from my mom. You and I have gotten bombarded by text. Mark Ingram from Big Noon Kickoff is yelling at me, freeze, it's happening, and it's happening in real time, and I feel it. I feel it coming up, and I think it's going to wake up a lot of people that knew it was coming and maybe just hit the snooze button and rolled over and said, not yet. It's still, 347 days out. I think now they're waking up going, it's 347 days out. I got to get excited. I got to get on board. I need to start generating whatever it is to make this machine go, whether it's PR or media or television or players. And I think guys like Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie who aren't here are going, I need to really throw myself into this more than I have been, because this is a once in a generational type moment.
Did Urban Meyer text you today?
Urban did not. Urban does not watch a lot of the soccer. I try hard to get him here. I tell you what, if the U.S. gets to Houston, I know like Matt Leinart will watch because he loves jumping on bandwagons. Mark Ingram will watch. Brady Quinn, I think, is a part owner in a soccer club there. So the big noon guys do care about soccer, but Urban's the one I got to really work hard to bring into the tent.
Michigan football on fire recruiting-wise, by the way. Got a 5-star defensive end today. So
you got to make sure you hold on to him.
Right.
Yeah, that NIL money's pouring in, so we're doing well.
Quite a quarterback. Let's see if he backs it up, man.
Yep.
And follow the rules too, right? I mean, right? That's really
there's some news coming down the pipeline for Michigan at some point this summer.
Sharon Moore is
really
going to be
interesting.
suspended.
Oh my goodness!
Several games.
It'll be really interesting. Are we talking football already?
No, we're
not yet.
You want to promote anything? Speaking of football, what's your podcast over there? What am I doing this for?
Yeah, don't. No. You don't. It's your podcast. This is what we're talking.
The
triple option coming away Tuesdays.
We go. Thank
All
you
right,
very much.
every Tuesday.
We have some dark days, right? Here.
Yes, I'm going to go home right now and watch a couple of episodes of Squid Game. So looking forward to that.
And we'll be back Wednesday for the semifinals, and like you said, the kicking off of the Euros, women's Euros over there. So we're looking forward to that. And then
good to have Carly Lloyd back in the house.
Yeah,
Can't wait to see
it's
Carly.
going to be fun. The whole gang's getting back together. Thank you to Yerba Madre and to everybody out there. Keep downloading and reviewing and subscribing and rating and doing all the different things that you do. Right and left, up and down, double fisting. Punch that button, smash that button over there on YouTube and Spotify and Apple and all the different things that you have there. Here's to more wonderful moments, right, Rob Stone?
Red, white, and blue, baby. Red, white, and blue.
Yes, there
July
we go.
4th week is here. Let's go.
It's going to be fun, baby. It's going to be fun. Let's celebrate. All right, well done. Congratulations to the U.S. team. Have a wonderful few days here. We will talk to you again, like I said, on Wednesday. And until then, and as always, my friends, size of the day.